This week we're looking at my best stills pictures taken during 2021. Now during the year I've managed to complete a YouTube film every week, which is quite a commitment, and that means my stills photography has suffered a little bit because I'm primarily shooting video. If my subject's still there after I've got the video, I do start thinking about taking some stills pictures. Nevertheless, I've got enough to be able to show you, and we're starting off with this gorgeous male bullfinch on some garden berries. If you take some garden berries out into the countryside and put them in a hedgerow in the middle of the winter when there's no colour in that hedgerow, they really stand out. And if you've got a group of bullfinches working their way along that hedgerow, they will see those berries and drop down to them. It's a very reliable way of photographing bullfinches. And this is the slightly more dowdy female bird. Back in January and February of 2021 I had a huge supply of these berries, but I've noticed there's none this winter, in December. Finding attractive perches for birds to land on is an ongoing task. You're always on the lookout, and I was very taken with this silver birch log covered in fungi. And I got various species, great tits, nuthatch, and almost a wren landing on top of it. I don't think this tree creeper appeared in any of my YouTube films. This was taken early in the spring when they are singing, and sometimes they keep still on the side of a trunk and sing for prolonged periods. I've never done much in the way of renter hides within the UK, although I've done quite a few abroad, but because of the YouTube films I thought I should make use of the opportunity, and over the year I did several of them, and this is taken at David Tipling's hides in Norfolk, where sparrowhawk is a regular visitor. Kingfisher is a bird I've done many times for my own hides, but I did visit the Brian Pitts farm in Worcestershire where there's hides you can rent out for kingfisher, and it was a very successful day and gave me yet another YouTube film. In the Midlands there's hardly any acorns on the oak trees at all. Fortunately I've collected some previous years and kept them dry, and so I've been using them just the tail end of the year to attract the jays down. Jays will come down readily enough for peanuts, but you don't really want a jay with a peanut in the bill. Acorns look far better. At the early part of the year, small groups of lesser redpolls were coming into the feeding station, taking the Niger seed feeder, and I was able to get a few natural looking poses from them. Not an easy bird to do. Fieldfares taking apples. I find the winter thrushes are far more inclined to take apples later in the winter when all the berries have gone off the trees. I had a very successful weekend in Northumberland where I got 3 YouTube films out of one weekend, and this curlew is taken on the causeway going across to Holy Island, one of the few places in the UK where you can get to photograph waders from the car window. During the course of 2021 I bought a Sony A1 camera and the 200 to 600mm lens. That's the only bit of Sony equipment I've got. I've still hung on to my Olympus gear, but the Sony A1 is just amazing for its autofocus. So long as you can keep a bird in the frame, the autofocus will lock onto it. It's extremely difficult to take a picture of a bird out of focus with this camera. Even swifts flying towards you in terrible lighting conditions, it was raining, and it still managed to lock on and keep the eye sharp as the bird came towards me. Because the viewfinder is totally flickerless, there's no blackout between the frames, it's much easier to be able to follow a bird. And here we've got a swift just about to catch an insect. Amazing technology. This common turn is hovering up in the air, so it's actually very easy to autofocus. Any camera should be able to manage this. A fast flying gadwell's a bit more difficult, but easy for the Sony A1. A group of us chartered a boat out of Bridlington Harbour to go and photograph the gannets diving into the water. It's a spectacular sight to see, and the gannets are low down, they're level with you. This fighting pair of gannets were interlocked on the water for several minutes. A very dramatic sight. And kittiwakes flying close to the boat. This missile thrush carrying worms back to its nest was the first subject that I tackled with the Sony A1, and I was just blown away with how wonderful it was at locking onto flying birds. And if it can do a small bird like a missile thrush in flight, handling a peregrine, no problem at all. I went to Kemlyn Bay on Anglesey just to photograph the sandwich turns and see how well the Sony would cope with this. It's got to be the best place to photograph sandwich turns in flight. And the last stills picture is a fox interacting with another fox, and it's always nice to get behaviour shots of your wildlife. So I'll finish off with two video clips that I've taken during the year that I really enjoyed doing, starting with this grey heron catching frogs, which went on for several days. I kept going back to film this because I was enjoying it so much. And this was taken with a Panasonic G9 camera, so it was before I owned the Sony A1, and I was using the G9 for all the video work, and especially the slow motion video work. But I really do enjoy watching wildlife in slow motion. And finally, a few clips of badgers taken at my local set. During the middle of the summer, when the days are very long, there's enough light when badgers come out to be able to film them. And modern cameras can film in very, very dull light these days. And the advantage of shooting video, as with mirrorless cameras, is that completely silent, so the badger doesn't know you're taking pictures. With a digital SLR type camera, you'd have the sound of the shutter going off, and that would alarm the badgers. You'd have to get them used to that sound. And that's it. Thanks for watching.